As you probably know, Romania and Bulgaria are in Balkans. We are very generous, so we try to solve the technical problem. We have just one picture. But let me explain you. So, here is Russe, here is Giurgiu. So for you, please, from now on, Giurgiu will be they or the other. Russe is we. Okay. Another problem solved. So let me develop the history of Giurgiu. Giurgiu appears the first time in documents in 14th century, and the name Giurgiu precisely and very interesting etymological, the name Giurgiu, nobody knows from where it came. But somebody tell that the name came from the Venetian, from San Giorgio. It's just an idea. And you know, my name is Cosmin Crețu. In Romanian, Crețu means curly. All of my life, I must face the joke, curly, but you're not curly. Oh yeah, breaking news, I was not curly. But when I said I'm from Giurgiu, everyone tell me, oh, Giurgiu, where the dog is. Because in Romania, our biggest drama writer, Caragiale, had a playwright named whenever, and it was a quote, I beat you till you hear the dogs in Giurgiu. Because in Giurgiu was the most important point where the guys from Bucharest take the dog where, whom they want to kill. That's the most important point of view historical about Giurgiu. But now the most interesting part of Giurgiu history, my part. I put my English glasses. So, I think that in order to best explain my opinion regarding the closeness between the residents of the neighboring city of Russe and those of my city, Giurgiu, cities separated by, as you see, the Danube, it would be best to refer to my own experiences. For example, when I was young, I liked to walk with my girlfriend through places hidden from the eyes of others. The reason was one international. I'm sure you understand it. Sometimes during our walks, we went right outside the city. One of those days, we walked to the Giurgiu North railway. It's an enemy word. Railway station, located about 5 kilometers away the city. When I saw a huge fresco on the wall with soldiers dressed as traditionally as possible, and underneath it was written big, Romanian Bulgarian Empire. I was extremely surprised because I had not learned anything about such a thing at school in history class. In that day, I learned the first really important thing about our neighbors across the Danube, whom we had never visited. Until then, all I knew was related to the TV programs regarding cartoons or football, both non-existent or the Romanian national TV station. I made this introduction so that you can understand that our closeness was before the revolution, one strictly geographical. We was not interested in each other in a real way, and that's a reality that we cannot change quickly. And 30 years in a historical context mean quick. Unfortunately, our administration have not proposed anything coherent apart from the intention in the speeches. I will give you just one example. In the last 30 years, all the presidents of our county councils have promised to take steps to abolish the bridge toll between Giurgiu and Russe for the residents of the two cities, but they did not keep their promise. Today, we finally have a president who did not promise this. And who kept his word. The tax is still here. Of course, I have always considered that if something displeased me, the best thing to do is to do something myself. So, as manager of the theater in Giurgiu, a position I held for 7 years in 2 periods, I decided to do something concrete. First, we had an exchange of performances with the theater of Russe, because we considered that it was not enough to play in the neighborhood, my desire being linked to the approach of the residents of the cities, we play for free, without financial claims from the Bulgarian theater in Russe, our only desire being that the Romanian public have free access in the hall and 2 reserved rows. A year later, we proposed to the spectators a non-verbal show outdoor in the park in the front of the theater of Russe, the soundtrack being made of traditional songs from Romania. Next year, we made a proposal to the Bulgarian public to visit us during the International Theatre Festival we were hosting, my friend Vladimir helping me then in the disseminating of the information in press. We buy performances of the theater of Russe Opera to visit us in Giurgiu, the 2 institutions of the theater, the 2 institutions performing during these years. I let Vladimir talk to you about the results of that efforts and the extent to which they were a success. I'm not a businessman, but I will talk to you about business, or more precise, my business is culture. And I think that culture and spirituality should be among the most effective tools for bringing the inhabitants of our cities closer together. For this, however, we must realize the importance of this approach, to which people still do not respond as expected. It will be a hard job, which must be done taking an example from the drug dealers, who knows how to make their goods first desired, then indispensable. Because in the world we want, neighbors must form strong communities. And as my I have a dream. I have the dream that in one day, one of the girl from Russe and one of the boy of Giurgiu will find the same path as I find in that day for the same purposes. Thank
you. I have too many things to say about both what Cosmin explained and other stuff, but let me first start with this one. Cosmin said that he was not aware, he didn't study in high school about the Bulgarian-Romanian historical bonds, and to provide a Bulgarian perspective to the common twin city RusseGiurgiu, I think many people in Russe are convinced that Giurgiu and Russe used to be one city in the medieval times. And I remember my teacher of history at high school in Russe claiming that they had even the same name. One was the big Iorgovo, which is a version of the name of Saint George, and the big Iorgovo was Russe, the small Iorgovo was Giurgiu. So in my perspective towards these relations is one of somebody who has lived in Russe even in his high school years, developed great curiosity towards what is going on the other side of the river. You see here on the map the bridge of friendship between Russe and Giurgiu, and over there to the top is Giurgiu. And I don't know if you imagine that, a little bit to the left and beyond the photo is the park of Russe, where my high school was present, and at the blocks next to the high school, from the top floors, you could really see what's going on in the port of Giurgiu. It is very close. In fact, it may look like a great distance, but really you have a very peculiar feeling. You know that you are in you have certain space, let's say, and just beyond the river is something else. And I had this curiosity, what is going on there? Eventually, things happened in this way in my life that I became a journalist, and I also learned Romanian after I became journalist. So at the moment I started traveling, I started doing reports, getting to know intellectuals, and a lot of things happened after that, including me getting to know Mr. Cosmin Crețu, and including me visiting the theater of Giurgiu as some kind of theater tourism. So now, returning to the Russe and Giurgiu issue, this is the twin couple of cities on the border between Bulgaria and Romania who have the most developed ties. there is a Euro region called Danubius, which is preceded by a person apparently trusted by both Bulgarian and Romanian state, and practically everything that happens between the municipalities of the two cities is somehow being done through this Euro region. But having my Bulgarian identity, I can't help being unsatisfied and complaining about stuff. So I think what Cosmin Crețu also observed in his attempts to engage the public of Rus and especially the cultural institutions is that there seems to be certain closeness or lack of interest, sufficient interest. For example, Mr. Crețu offered for free Bulgarians to visit the theater, to be viewers in the theater of Giurgiu. And as far as I know, there were very few of them, of Bulgarians who came to the city. So in my view, there is this bridge of friendship which is great, but the transport connections between the two cities are poor. In fact, Russia is better connected to Bucharest through various lines, but these lines somehow only pass by Giurgiu, and there isn't quite media or some initiatives, some let's say initiatives with multiplier effect who bring people of Rus and Giurgiu together. So the institutions know well one another, it can be seen, and they collaborate as far as they have interest. But for me it's interesting, can there be people's movement, people's empowerment through borders such as the one we observe here in Slupfort? And I think this is something like a challenge for people of Rus and Giurgiu to see in the near future and to act on that. And maybe this project which we participate now is also one that can give inspiration for that. And to finish this presentation, I have reached the moment when I start thinking that bridge of friendship could be, as I said also in the first part of the day, some kind of a method for approaching specific areas in the periphery, let's say, of the world, areas where people don't know one another and don't trust sufficiently one another, are not very quite interested in engaging one another, but they also maybe slowly realize that they need some dynamics between them. They just need to generate some exchange, some life over border, because beyond, without that, the areas just become depopulated. Giurgiu people go to Bucharest, Rus people go to Sofia or abroad. So the dynamism and the vitality of this place falls, and cross-border engagement could be one way to create some sense of living in this area. And for me, bridge of friendship is exactly such an approach in which there are maybe some people, hopefully like the two which we are here, some people who can be trusted maybe by both sides, or who see sense in engaging the other side, who are curious about speaking or doing something with the other people. And these people can really create some dynamism in conditions in which everyone remains on his shore, which I think is the fact. Bulgaria and Romania have strongly national-centric media, and people are just somehow have learned, interiorized, we are Bulgarians, we are Romanians, and for me, the specific case, at least if I speak about me, I think I have a little bit of a dynamic identity. I think I have mixed a little bit the two aspects, Bulgarian and Romanian, and I'm curious to practice this, and I call this bridge of friendship.